We as the American people have got to have more of a spine. We have got to have more backbone. There's a lot of people out there telling us how we should vote. There's a lot of people guiding this narrative around our Republican presidential candidates. We know what they think about Donald Trump, but let's talk about some of the others as well. Trump is a key component of this, obviously, but I want to know down below, who are you voting for in 2024? Just go ahead and tell me in the comments below, who are you voting for in 2024 and why, if you would like to go into any great detail. I love reading all that stuff, but we're going to talk about where we are in public discourse. We're going to talk about the narrative and the lines that are being fed to us and why I think they are being fed to us. Let's talk about it. Okay, welcome back to Continued Freedom. If this is your first time here, welcome. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below. We are on X, Locals, Rumble, and YouTube. So what's the state of our country going to be in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? We don't know. But we know that there are people out there already planning these things, whether it's the World Economic Forum, the political elites, the Uniparty that's in Washington, D.C. We know that they have plans for the future. Klaus Schwab and George Soros and all of these people, they say that part out loud. They say the quiet parts out loud. And we're sitting here worried about the 2024 the 2024 elections. Who's it going to be? Is Donald Trump even going to be able to run? Well, we know the type of opposition that he is up against, and I'm going to show you a quick clip here. This is from Leticia James, and I'm sure you've heard of Leticia James, but Leticia James is the New York Attorney General, and she's been putting out these videos like they look like hostage videos, but I'm going to play a piece for you that I think is absolutely critical in understanding how the political elites are going against Donald Trump.
His family and his business. Before this trial even began, the judge ruled in our favor and found that Donald Trump did engage in years of significant financial fraud we uncovered.
Did you hear the first sentence? You can read it there on the screen, but I'm going to play it for you one more time.
Before this trial even began, the judge ruled in our favor and found...
Before this trial even began, the judge ruled in our favor. Imagine if that was your son or your daughter or your brother or your sister or your mother or your father who are going to defend themselves in court, innocent until proven guilty, as it's supposed to be in our judicial system, with a lady justice holding the scales, blindfolded. Blind lady justice. Cannot see who you are, what your gender is, what your chromosomes are, what your sexual preference is. Can see none of those things, but you get to defend yourself in court, and you are innocent until you are proven guilty. But against Donald Trump, before this trial even began, the judge ruled in our favor. That is what we're up against. That is what the American people are up against. People who want Lady Justice to lift the corner of that blindfold to see who she is going after. And so that's what we're up against. We're up against people who have no regard for our republic. They have no regard for the rule of law. They have no regard for fair trials. All they care about is power and money. And you see it in all the mainstream media outlets, whether it's MSNBC, ABC, CBS, Fox News, pick your poison. All of them have a specific narrative, and they're all guiding us right now in one direction. They're guiding us towards Nikki Haley. They admit that Donald Trump is leading in the polls, as he should, but they're guiding us towards Nikki Haley. Why? Because there's a large contingent, and this is what I believe, there's a large contingent of Republicans, and these are people that I talk to on a regular basis. They are tired of this angry messaging that's all over liberal media. Now, a lot of them don't see, the Today Show or whatever, or Good Morning America. They don't see those as partisan organizations, but they hear it. It's those little whispers of vitriol towards Donald Trump, how they slip in the word racist, or they slip in that's bigoted language, or that's racist language, or it's a dog whistle. They slip in all of that verbiage, and they are slowly tweaking the minds of big R Republicans, for which there are many. There are still a lot of big R Republicans inside the United States, and they say, I'm just tired of it. I don't like Donald Trump because he sends mean tweets. And they say, you know what, I want to get back to the days of old when it was just, you could still have lunch with people who were of a different political party. If politics comes up, nobody was going to get mad and walk out like they do today. But I think we forget some things. Let's go back. People say, I want to go back to the days of George Bush, right? George Bush and his involvement in the Iran-Contra. But no, we need to get back to a time where the political rhetoric is more mundane. And Clinton We need to get back to the Clinton days. You know, we used to have the school elections. And when I was younger, we'd have school elections. Are you voting for Bush or are you voting for Clinton? And, of course, Clinton at the time having a young intern on her knees, giving him oral sex, and then him forcing his wife to go in public and defend him. No, but we need to get back to a time where things were calmer. We need to return to civility. Or George W. Bush, you know, good old W. He's a nice dude. At least that's the way he looked. That's the way he came across. He was a friendly old guy. The news, yeah, they went after him for all of his little speech faux pas and all those things. But he got us into 2 foreign wars in 2 foreign countries, cost thousands of lives because of some people trained by Saudis, led by a guy who was being held in Pakistan. But we need to go to Afghanistan. We need to go to Iraq. And how did that turn out? I think history will show. Oh, let's go back. What about Obama? Oh, let's go back to Obama. Now, Obama's when it really kicked off, right? But Obama was a statesman. He was an eloquent speaker. He also assassinated a U.S.-American teenager in a foreign country without due process. But no. We need to get back to a more civil time in politics. We have got to stop being so bloody gullible. When are people going to understand that the narrative being fed around Nikki Haley, as an example, or the narrative being fed around Chris Christie, or the narrative being fed around Joe Biden, all of this is smoke and mirrors. There is one party in Washington, D.C. There is a uniparty in Washington, D.C. Republicans and Democrats have minor differences, but by and large, they vote the same way. That's how we got the debt that we got. Couple that with a Democrat president. That's how we got the debt that we have. That's how we got the deficit spending that we have. That's how we got an open border like we have. That's how we got interest rates like we have. All of this is done by a uniparty in Washington, D.C., and that uniparty wields an extraordinary amount of power. And when we elected Donald Trump, the guy that they thought would never become president because all the pollsters knew that it was going to be Hillary Clinton, so they weren't really worried about it. But no, we put in a guy who said, you know what? All that stuff stops with me. I'm going to kick the lobbyists out of D.C. Now, was Donald Trump a perfect president? Absolutely not. He didn't finish the wall like he said he was going to do. He didn't do a lot of things he said he was going to do. But by and large, he was making efforts to fulfill all of his campaign promises, unlike the vast majority of presidents of old, at least all the ones in my lifetime. I mean, George H.W. Bush, read my lips, no new taxes. And then what happens? More taxes. But we believed that Donald Trump was going to get those things done, and he tried. He's the only guy who actually, he did attempt to disrupt the deep state. He attempted to disrupt the lobbyist class in Washington, D.C. And he found it harder and more corrupt, I believe, than he expected. But in a second term, when he has nothing to lose, so what do? They go after him because he disrupted it. Before this trial even began, the judge ruled in our favor, says Leticia James. We'll get a judge, a political judge, a partisan judge, because we don't care about the legal system. We don't care about blind Lady Justice. We want Lady Justice to have both eyes open with a set of binoculars. We want Lady Justice to know exactly who she's looking at so that we can craft our political assassination accordingly. This is what we're up against. And these people still think that that this is going to be done without a fight. If we elect Nikki Haley, everything's going to calm down. Everything will be back to the way that it was. And that's exactly what people like Klaus Schwab and George Soros, the World Economic Forum, want. And to make my point emphatically clear, here's George Soros talking about elections to begin with. You don't need elections to begin with. Listen to this.
Now digital technologies mainly have an analytical power. Now we go into a predictive power, and we have seen the first examples, and your company very much involved into it. But then the next step could be to go into a prescriptive mode, which means you do not even have to have elections anymore, because you can already predict, and afterwards you can say, why do we need elections? Because we know what the result will be.
There you go. We don't even need elections because we'll know what the result is going to be. This is the world that they envision. This is the world that they want. They want to lull you back to sleep. They don't want you to have a backbone. They don't want you to fight. Just sit back and slowly boil in the water. Sit back and slowly sink to sleep as they pump that, that the sleeping gas into the room. This is what they want. And for people that say, I just want it, it's not, you don't get your freedoms back. You don't get your liberties back. You don't disrupt the deep state without some type of a fight. And there's two people who can do it. Donald Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy. Nikki Haley, 200% cannot do it. She is bought and paid for. If the RNC, the big R Republican Party, is pumping money into that person, in this political environment, you got to get away from them. Now, I don't know how much they're giving to Donald Trump, but they would only be doing so begrudgingly. We have got to wake up. America has got to wake up. And Trump's not going to be the end-all, be-all, right? Trump has to get into office. If Trump doesn't get into office, if they end up, for God forbid, putting Trump in prison, then what that's going to do to our republic is borderline irreparable. This is going to be bad for our country if this happens to Donald Trump. But believe you me, if Nikki Haley, if another big R Republican Party member gets into office, we're just back in the boiling pot. You're going to have to fight. I'm sorry, not physical fight. You're going to have to fight at the ballot box, go to your social media, in your private conversations. These are things you're going to have to defend. That these are pains that we have to go through in order to get back to get our government back, basically. Term limits. Things like that. Things that are going to put the power back into the hands of the people and out of the hands of career politicians. And, I talk about Nikki Haley in all my videos, how she's a warmonger. And you can see that the big R Republicans, they're talking about Ukraine, right? It's Ukraine. Oh, yeah. We got to give money to Ukraine. This is important. They've got to win this fight and so on and so forth. Well, Zelensky, if you didn't see, and let me see if I can find the clip here. Just one second. Okay, here it is. So this is Zelensky, and Zelensky comes to Washington, D.C., and who's he meeting with? He's meeting with defense contractors. The same people that are just champing at the bit to have Nikki Haley into office. So he's sitting here schmoozing with defense contractors. Northrop Grumman, that's a big one. Sierra, whatever it is, Sierra Designs or Sierra, hang on a second and I'll tell you what it is. But either way, he's sitting there hobnobbing with these Sierra Nevada Corporation. That's who it is. They're the ones that have crew systems. Those of you that don't know what crew systems are, it's called counter radio controlled improvised explosive device electronic warfare. So basically counter radio electronic warfare. And this is all unclassified, by the way. It's straight from their website. So you can read about them. They have counter unmanned aerial systems. So they're fighting against drones and things like that. Northrop Grumman selling guided missiles and Bushmaster chain guns and direct energy weapons, which not saying that that's what they're selling to Ukraine, but I'm saying that this is all stuff from their website. Zelensky is more than happy to come and hobnob with all of these people. And our politicians love it. Lindsey Graham loves it. Oh my gosh, yeah, get him over here. Why? Because Lindsey Graham, much like Nikki Haley, is in the pocket of defense contractors. These are not the people that are going to take us into some grand new future. You'll get all your news coverage will just be minor critiques of policy prescriptions. But at the end of the day, we'll be in another war, and the machine will go on. We have to disrupt the machine. This is my chief argument for Vivek Ramaswamy, for Donald Trump as my number one choice, but against anybody else that they are telling me. If I see CNN going easy on a Republican, I know to be aware, and you should too. If you see NBC say anything even remotely flattering about a Republican candidate in this day and age, it's a person you should stay away from. Because we are too divided politically to go with an appeasing candidate. An appeasing candidate is how we have caved our entire society to the left. It's how we have compromised to the left for my entire life. We have compromised to the left. Donald Trump changed all of that. And they are crushing him for it. And as a result, they are saying, we will crush you for it as well. Look at January 6th. The same thing. People who dared go and speak out, walk into the Capitol. People who showed up hours later being arrested by the FBI, being taken to prison. How dare you? How dare you step inside of our house, is what they say. And they want to control the narrative. This is a video that I showed a couple of days ago, and I don't think I've published the video yet, but I'm going to show it again because it's important. Al Gore. Oh, man, Al Gore. The guy is just, I mean, you got to love the guy, right? Sorry. Well, that video looks like it's been taken down. Yep, looks like it was taken down. Either way, Al Gore saying that it's not shocking. Whoever that was, they took the video down. But nonetheless, Al Gore saying that alternative media, we have far too many people offering their opinions online, giving news, giving coverage online. We need to get back to the days where it's a couple of agencies, a couple of news agencies that tell us what we need to know, what they believe that we need to know. This podcast right here should not exist. This shouldn't be out there in the ether because I'm dangerous, right? I'm dangerous. All these other commentators are dangerous. We need to silo this information. You can still have public arguments. You can still have the First Amendment, but you're only going to be able to argue around the things that we want you to hear. We only want to give you a couple of points of view, too many points of view. Seeing the world from a broader perspective is dangerous to people like Al Gore. It's dangerous to the World Economic Forum. It's dangerous to big tech. It's dangerous to the Democrat or to the Uniparty. We have to silo information, which is why they say it's going to be, Donald Trump's going to go to prison. Let's just say, Donald Trump's going to prison. He's not going to be able to run. Let's go ahead and just focus our energy on Nikki Haley versus Joe Biden, or Nikki Haley versus who I think it's going to be is Gavin Newsom. Let's just get away from these other, we don't need extra media. We don't need other people offering their opinions. We don't need an alternative look at the information available. We don't need alternative candidates. We don't need silo that information. Keep Americans dumb. Give them left and right limits that worked in our favor. This is the system that we're in. So if you aren't able to get at least remotely amped up about that or understand your duty as a voter to take a holistic approach. Don't just take my opinion. Take my opinion and other people's opinions. And who are the candidates? Who are they going after the most and why? You have to understand that there's a nefarious system behind all this. There's a nefarious system of narcissist billionaires who are leading our politicians. They're leading things on a global scale. Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock, openly says, and they don't hide this anymore. He openly says, we have to use our financial portfolio in order to force social change. And I'm paraphrasing, but he said force social change. I can't remember if he said with his portfolio or how it was. But these people are saying we have to leverage companies like Bud Light to do things that will force an ESG. We have to do this to all the companies. Disney is beholden to these things. ESG. Now, they backed away from that terminology, but they're still doing the same thing. We have to make everybody go woke. And when you talk about a company like BlackRock, an investment firm like BlackRock, that between them, State Street, and Vanguard control as much money as our entire GDP of the U.S., who have more under management, something to the tune of $19 trillion, if I remember by my last math. They have tens of trillions of dollars under management. These people have immense power and immense influence because politicians are cheap. These are just narcissists that want the power, they want the influence, and yeah, they're going to make a lot of money on the side. I mean, Nancy Pelosi's worth $200 million, and she's never made more than $190,000 in her entire life, or more than $200,000 in her entire life, but she's worth $200 million. Impossible but she's bought and paid for. She's an insider. These are the people that we have to get out of office. Our founding fathers never intended for us to have politicians sitting in the halls, our hallowed halls, our sacred halls of Congress for 30 years. They never expected or never intended someone to want to be in that position of service for that long because they didn't see it as a way to enrich themselves. Now with public-private partnership, that's exactly what we have. And we have to vote for the people that want to disrupt it. And you have to have a backbone, enough of a backbone to say, you know what? I know that this is going to get louder when we elect Donald Trump. I know this is going to get louder when after Donald Trump we elect Vivek Ramaswamy. I know that these people come in with a more combative attitude, but that's what it's going to take to restore our freedoms and liberties inside of this country. We are in the difficult position as conservatives or as Republicans. We generally tend to want, at least us as voters, the politicians are a different story, but we want to act within the left and right limits of our Constitution. That's what we expect. We have the most difficult fight to win. And it was much like us when we were in Afghanistan, or in Iraq. When I used to be in the military, we were fighting people that were not, they didn't care about the Geneva Convention. They didn't care about the rules of war. They didn't care about the law of armed conflict. These are things that are foreign to them. They would do things in the most nefarious way possible. Sadly, that's the way it's become in modern day politics. We have one side that does not play by the rules and one side that does, or at least tries to. And so all we can do is get people in office like Donald Trump, people like Vivek Ramaswamy, who will go in and disrupt that system. Because when they disrupt it, becomes clear, crystal clear to us. In 8K, we can see who bucks against that, who fights against that. Because those are the people that stand to lose something. And those are the people that we have to vote out of office. These are my thoughts. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below. We are on X Locals, Rumble, and YouTube. And we'll see you all in the next video.